Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Marcellus Central School District Board of Education meeting for tonight, Monday, June 7th, 2021. At this time, I would ask that everyone please stand and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda this evening under presentations, COVID-19's impact on our school updates. Mrs. Brantner.
Sure, just a couple of things this evening. You've probably been seeing my emails flying since Friday when the headline at Syracuse.com was a little shocking about a change in mask protocol at schools. That actually, I'm sure you've seen or heard, at least from me, that really resulted from a letter from the New York State Health Department stating to the CDC their intention to move in that direction and wanting to know if the CDC could provide any additional guidance they might have with, going in that direction or not. So they had asked to have something by today and had planned to make some sort of announcement today. So I was able, in between things today, to catch the governor's press conference. And he did make an announcement that there would be no more masks required outdoors, but that the inside the school building mask mandate would remain through the end of the school year. And that was based on a publication that came out from the CDC stating that because there's a population in schools of children that are not eligible for vaccines and some that whose parents have not chosen to have them vaccinated, that they felt it was best to maintain the mask wearing through the end of the school year. I think there's a perception on a lot of our parts that in the fall, potentially things will change more back to normal. And, mask wearing will be something that would be used as a tool in the event that we had some sort of an outbreak. So, from the history here that oftentimes the governor's press conference differs a bit from whatever comes out in writing, because we have several agencies that we have to follow the guidelines of. So I wanted to just make sure I had your thoughts this evening. My thought is wait 24 to 48 hours to see if an executive order follows. While the governor's ability to hand down executive orders has changed, which may be some of the reasons something hasn't been handed down yet. I believe he does still have some ability to do that. And if not, certainly the Senate and Assembly have the ability to hand down executive orders. So just because right now we have plans that are approved by the state stating that we wear masks, looking just to have something in writing. To me, it makes perfect sense. I actually think when kids have been outside, especially sweating in their masks, it's probably not a great situation to be breathing through that, but that's just me. So I wanted to make sure I had any opinions that you might have on moving in that direction in the event that we don't see anything in writing. I did listen to him today. He stated pretty clearly that was the direction. So thoughts?
That's the direction, but does he have the authority to do that without the executive order?
Well, that's we had a meeting today with the county superintendent and our DS based on his contacts, believes that it's probably safe to proceed at his word. I think all of us felt like we should see something in writing just because God forbid something happens. I just don't know if it's going to be forthcoming. He did speak a little bit differently than he sometimes does.
Well, in my opinion, if you've watched any of these kids on the sports field, they're playing like this anyway. I don't think that's doing any good. So, I don't think it's going to pose outdoors any significant risks. So, I think it's prudent to keep masks till the end of the year indoors. So, I agree with that guidance, and I think that the kids are outside. It's impossible to police 24/7 if they're wearing it properly when they're outside, and it's been so hot that I think it's fine outside, but that's my opinion.
The official word, I think, it's a good idea to wait for, because we don't know what there's been changes of his mind before.
So it's not an executive order from the governor. It would have to be from the legislature and the Senate.
I mean, this just happened this afternoon, so it's my belief, based on when his power was stripped to hand down executive orders at the rate in which he was doing it, we were told that power lies with the legislature, so that's what my assumption is, that if he can't hand down an executive order, I haven't really kept up with what powers he has now or doesn't. So, if he can't, there is a way to do it, if they wanted to hand down some sort of an order. I'll keep you posted. Is anybody violently opposed to going in that direction? Because it will be at the discretion of school districts. It's not a requirement, I guess is my point.
I think it makes sense for them to be able to be outside without their masks. I mean, typically, a lot of the kids take their mask breaks outside. It's, the risk is lower. So I think
And they always have the choice to keep it on if their family is uncomfortable with them removing it, but I think outside would.
Okay. So I'll keep you posted. I'm assuming we'll either hear something in the next 48 hours or we won't. Just letting you know as a reminder that we have been hosting the county for vaccination clinics, and we're hosting round 2 for the 12 to 15-year-old group. We had about 120 students vaccinated, and so they'll be coming back for round 2, and that's on Thursday morning. I'm not sure that we'll be hosting certainly any more this year. I know that some vaccination sites across the state are closing, and I'm quite certain, after looking at the sign at the fairgrounds, you can just walk in.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's a great deal of convenience, not just at the fairgrounds, but I think even at stores and pharmacies, you can just walk in and get a vaccine.
Michelle, is that 120 Marcellus kids
Just Marcellus
or?
kids.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't. What ended up happening is that the Cayuga County Health Department and the Onondaga County Health Department actually, communicated and decided that Cayuga County could commandeer the 2 districts that are straddling counties. So Jordan Eldridge and Skinny Atlas is who we were paired with for the 16 to 18-year-old clinic, and they were able to just do it in Cayuga County. It made more sense for them, so it worked out. And it was convenient for a lot of people here, which worked out for us as well. So that's happening, just in case you see some weird traffic patterns. That's really the only, that's been the big news in COVID, which is great, but there isn't other news.
Any other questions about COVID-19 impact? Building project update.
So our project on the turf has begun. As you know, we Mr. Free was great about getting contests finished up on the field space a little early. The sooner we can get them on the turf to do the replacement, the sooner we'll have it released back to us in the fall. And obviously we'll be held hostage by the weather over the summer. But I wanted you to have some images. Obviously they aren't as great as being out there seeing it. But I was joking with Ryan earlier that once you go out and look at it, you forget what it looked like before. So I'm like, what was this here? Was it there? So right now they've taken the fencing off. You can see this is a far away shot of that, but here's a close up where the fencing's removed. Some of you may have spent many hours leaning on that fence and remember it fondly. So if you recall in this close up shot, in this area right here, we've always battled, the grass growth up in the fence, and it just didn't look very pleasant. So one of the things we wanted was to draw the surface out beyond the fence line so that we have an easier time maintaining and having our facility look the way it should. So they're in the process of prepping to do that work. This shot I took really because of this weird looking tube right here is actually where the placement of the delay of game clock will go. There's one that will be positioned at each end of the field with a tilt towards the players being able to see it the best. Right now, they see it straight, and it's very difficult for the players and officials to see. So this one will tilt slightly in this direction, and then the one on the other end will tilt slightly in the opposite direction. So the one on the other end of the field will be pretty visible from the stands as well, but both won't be as visible from the stands because it's really not for the people in the stands, it's actually for the players and the officials. And then this, I'm trying to take shots of anything that they've done because we're really at the beginning stages. This shot right here just shows an area where there's an electrical box that they're doing some replacing of, and this will actually feed this clock down here. They had to run new conduit and wire to. So it feeds from this box, which is on the side. So if you're trying to position, the stands are over sort of where this picture is. That's what we're looking at. So we're looking out towards the practice field. And then this picture, it's a lot cooler to be standing next to it. You know, you always talk about that. We've had all these talks about the crumb rubber and all the crumb rubber, which is everywhere. This is a great picture of mounds of crumb rubber that's come out of the turf. And the reason that even when you shake it, there's still so much in there that it's incredibly heavy. So I've asked them to save some turf because I want the Booster Club to be able to do, a little fundraiser, sell a piece of nostalgia. It'll help them. Some people will want a piece of turf. And they were joking today that they ought to give me a 1-by-1 piece of this just to see if I could carry it, because it's incredibly heavy, deceitfully so. So this is just a pile of pieces that they have begun taking up and the massive crumb rubber that's falling out of it. And then we've been talking about the E-layer. I don't know if you remember back when we were planning this project, this is sort of the big money question. So the E-layer is this thick, it sort of looks like rubber that's been pressed together, small pieces of rubber. And this E-layer is the underlayment to this carpet. And it's pretty important that E-layer be in good shape. Otherwise, our dreams of doing some of that KCH kitchen work evaporates pretty quickly. The contractor and everybody that we've talked to believes that it's in good shape. The good news is the places that they've had to take up as they are preparing to pull all the carpet up look really good. So that is fantastic news. I was a flutter all weekend because I thought today was the day that we would find out. And I got to work and I said, when are they taking up the carpet? I wanna know. And they said, well, that would be next Monday, Michelle. So next Monday, they'll be taking up the carpet, the turf, and we'll see how the E-layer is, and that'll be a big day. I'll certainly keep you posted on that. Mike?
Michelle, I have just a question. In your update last week about the building project, you make reference to the turf is set to be peeled on Monday. We will know then if the E-layer is intact or if it will need to be replaced. We are holding a large chunk of money for that issue if it comes to fruition. So I'm assuming that large chunk of money will go to that if needed. Where would that money go if not needed for that?
The KCH kitchen work. So we're having the
So
KCH kitchen.
the kitchen work doesn't get done if
Not
this
all of it.
underlayment is in bad shape.
A portion, but not all. And the KCH kitchen work is, the somewhat unglamorous. We have severely low amounts of electrical ability in the kitchen. Our panels need to be replaced and upgraded. The flow in that kitchen is horrible, for actually working in there. The airflow is codes behind. So there's some stuff that really needs to happen in there. And I'm hopeful, it's looking good so far. So if you want to throw up some good thoughts for the E-layer, it will actually be next Monday, not this Monday. And then this is just an area where there was lacrosse safety netting, and they've just taken those spots out, ready to, you can see they're marked to receive the new safety netting, being replaced. I was trying to take pictures of anything that you could see progress on. So that's what we did so far. So exciting to see this happening. As you know, we were able to get the lighting replaced, and the kids actually were able to play under those new, better lights, and the scoreboard replaced. And we wanted to do that in the spring, weather permitting, which we left out, so that there would be no one in the way of this work happening, so we can get on it in the fall. So all good news. Just a little more building project. As you know, we're continuing our planning for a December 2021 vote for our next project. That project is basically roofs and asphalt. As you drive around the campus, I know you can see areas of degradation, and that degradation will continue until it's replaced, because the underneath support just starts to dissolve away. No matter how much you patch, the next spring you're patching again, and it's a bigger hole. And then obviously, from the roof study we did a few years ago, the timeline for roof replacement here. So that work would begin summer of 2023. There's usually a couple years between vote and actual work starting. And we've talked about we're funding projects through our debt replacement model, which means as we pay off a debt, that creates budgetary capacity for us to complete work that needs to happen anyway, while keeping a tax impact that's even. So we're not having a dramatic swing in tax impact. We're also trying to keep our eye on how much debt the district carries, because we don't want to carry too much debt that your community can't support. So that's sort of the explanation of a couple of these bullets. And then if you remember, Tony also talked to us about modifying our debt replacement with some escalation, just because a project that we did 15 years ago doesn't get a lot done by today's financial dollars. So we're looking at in 2022, 2023, not for this project that we're referring to, but applying an escalation factor just to make sure that we have sufficient money in our debt replacement scheme to actually do the work to keep our facilities up. I think we've done a good job. We've been pretty aggressive about it, but also smart. So more on driving. Any questions about that? I'm gonna keep rolling.
Federal stimulus.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Janine's like, let's talk money. She loves to talk the federal stimulus money. So this federal stimulus money, we're trying to be as smart as possible, because it was an unexpected large sum of money that was dropped on school districts. And I hate to think about school districts that got a lot more than we did, and how they're handling a really quick turnaround on how to figure out expenditure of this money and doing it in a smart way. So we have put together, pretty general plans that give great flexibility, because we had about 2 weeks to put a plan up and submit. So we're basically using the minimal guidelines we've been given. We will not be given guidelines that are more detailed, I think by design. They're really trying to give school districts flexibility, because this money can be expended over a period of years. And that's how it ought to be done. It ought to be done in a way that doesn't create a cliff later on. So as we've talked about, there's money that should be set aside to support students that have had, they've used the term learning loss. Some people are angry at that term. They don't like the term, but the bottom line is, kids have had a different experience over the course of the last year and a half. Just ask them, they'll tell you. And so there's some needs that we have this summer and going into, I would say, the next 3 years, to make certain that we cover some things with kids and make sure that they're supported. We're certainly seeing a lot of different or more extreme social emotional issues based on a variety of factors, just from what people have experienced. And as you know, the county has put, a pretty massive throwdown on the table of creating an initiative across the county, and we will use some of this funding to buy in the minimal amount that we have to buy in to receive some services in partnership. We actually had a meeting today finally with a counseling agency in the city called Helio Health, we've been trying to establish a partnership with them to do a school-based clinic for the past, it's been at least a year. And we finally got approval from the state. And it was funny, the woman from the county said, that's the kind of thing we could help you with. And I said, well, where were you a year ago when we were struggling? So I think we are going to have some increased services for kids that will be beneficial. We'll be able to have some increased academic support, some after-school tutoring I think we'll be able to offer, and also some expanded time this summer for staff to really dig into where the gaps are and what are some of the best ways that we can fill those gaps. So that skeleton is posted on the website. We'll have a Google form with it because certainly public comment is open, for the next month, Mike.
Is there a certain percentage of that funding that has to go towards learning loss?
There is, and I don't know if I go to this if it'll. Tony, are the percentages on here, or do you have them at the ready?
Yeah, if you, so if you look under right in the center of the screen there, it says APRA allocations may be used in the following ways. And so it's the last three bullets under that heading. They total exactly $700,000. So that is the amount from the ARP allocation that needs to be used specifically for learning loss.
700,000.
700,000, yep.
And the total is 1,051,000?
No, there's an additional 1,051,000 in the ARP allocation that can be used for the items that are listed there. Where Michelle is now, so there are two grants, right? You have SERSA and ARP. It says APRA, but it should
I'm
be
highlighting the two amounts.
Yep. So SERSA can be used entirely for new staff, avoiding layoffs, addressing learning loss, right where the cursor is just below.
Yeah.
And then ARP, $1 million of it can be used for those same things that SERSA can be used for. And then another 700,000 must be used for learning loss.
So our goal on the staffing side.
Well, actually, there's tremendous flexibility in the rest of, in how the rest of the money could be used. So, building projects it'll be a little tricky, but I believe it can be figured out.
We're actually looking at earmarking some money for capital expense that would be outdoor learning spaces. We've been talking about doing some things in the area of STEM and agriculture as we expand that program. We believe that we'll be able to funnel some funds, and that would be a great infrastructure use. You want to be careful about creating cliffs. I can't just go hire, 5 or 6 people and then 3 years from now, what are we doing? So we're trying to be very careful and use the money in ways that sort of will transcend time. That being said, we're going to do some creative things in the early intervention direction. We think we're going to have a staff member. We've been doing some increased study of the science of reading and have gotten some of our staff through that training. I mean, as you can imagine, some of our staff members haven't been in college for a few years now. And of course, there's new science around, teaching reading and approaches to it. So we're hoping to have a staff member serve as a facilitator and trainer to provide some support for implementation. And Bob has done a pretty creative teaching assistant structure to provide an extra body. He's been experimenting a little bit this year with them pulling kids that really need some extra assistance, and it's been going really well. So we're hoping to capitalize on that, sort of get good bang for our buck there. So we do have some things in the works. Admittedly, summer programming for kids, we have a community that does summer programming now. Anything that we add would compete with that, and quite frankly, a lot of people are pretty tired. And I think the BOCES is finding it impossible to even find teachers for summer school. And so I'm not sure if we built it, they would come either on the student side or the adult staffing side. And I honestly think, listen, we fill gaps for a living. that's what we do. And I think that if we really invest in teachers doing some good planning work this summer and have a strong way to enter next year with some staffing tweaks that won't hurt us 3 years from now, I think we'll be in a really good position. Hard to plan to use this money in 5 minutes though. And so I don't wanna get too detailed until things play out a little bit farther. Yeah.
Michelle, did the government say if they wanted periodic reports on how the money's going to be spent?
They haven't said that. I believe we'll have to turn in, the way we do it now is probably for title money, is probably the way it'll be allocated. So I don't know if you want to give a little detail about how we apply for title funds.
Sure. There are some very basic financial reports that we will provide. If we purchase things like materials and supplies, Chromebooks, textbooks, furniture, we'd have to detail precisely what we purchased. And so that gets a little complicated, especially for the dollar amounts that we're talking about here. And so it's probably the easiest form of reporting for purposes of getting it through would be staffing. Because we're not going to have to detail every hour that a person worked. It would just be the total amount paid in the course of the year. And so long story short is that the reporting is fairly typical for federal grant programs, nothing more elaborate than that.
Michelle, one thing I'd like to add, I think that, through COVID, one of the things that I really noticed was how the smaller class sizes, while they were forced upon us, it really changed the instruction for kids. We saw much less behaviors. We saw the instruction, while they were only there for a few days, was really exceptional because they were getting so much one-on-one. Would it be possible to really look at every one of our class sizes and think, can we utilize this funding to make smaller class sizes for the next year or two? Because I think that would have a true impact on loss of learning.
Right, research on class sizes, we would have to get pretty low in order to actually have the kind of impact. And it definitely has a different feel when you have 8 kids in the room, but for us to get down to that number, we would really be creating a massive cliff later on. So we're really trying to look at it using like additional teaching assistant support, so that there's another set of hands, and pulling small groups, you can have a similar impact. It's not that we can't do it, it's that I'm really trying to be careful so that 3 years from now, we aren't in trouble. And it is better when they can stay 6 feet apart too. Maybe we could do that. Once they get to 3 feet, things start falling apart. I just think, it's funny because I think everybody's exhausted, and maybe we shouldn't be, but we are. It's been sort of a time like no other. And so I'm hoping when we get back to normalcy, like things will fall into a little bit more of a flow. But you're right, we have seen sort of a fraying as time has gone on. And the hard part is we aren't touching one factor, we're touching multiple factors. So for me to say it's because there were 8 kids in the room or 12 kids in the room, it could be that, but it also could be they were 6 feet apart and everybody scared them into coming near anyone, and and on and on and on. And they were so happy to be there because they only got to be there 2 days a week. So I think
a lot changed all at once.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to attribute it to our favorite thing, and it could be a variety of other things, just from a research perspective.
Michelle, will there, I believe it's already been decided that for next year, we go back to our traditional schedule with however many courses like you for a full year. But will there be any ongoing research or whatever to try to see what is a more effective model, either the blocking, the semestering versus the full year? That's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, I've asked John and Katie to work together on that. When we made the scheduling decision, last summer, we made the decision for a temporary reason. And part of the reason is that block scheduling has tons of advantages. It has some disadvantages. Ones that I was really concerned about for our community because of our dedication to some of our electives, like the arts. You know, we have really strong programs, and if you're not careful, it can really decimate those programs. So I want it studied, not when everybody's in pandemic brain, because I have to be honest with you. I've been doing this 31 years. My brain is shot. I don't know that I could make a great long-term scheduling decision right now. So it is something that we want to study and bring some of our staff into the fold to really talk about implications in a broad way, because I do think there are better ways to do things than marching around every 40 minutes. But good point, needs some study.
Any other questions regarding federal stimulus money? All right. Before moving on to the recognition, I would just like to take a moment to welcome Sean Eady to the board. Sean joins us tonight, taking Margie Bensel's remaining 2 years of her term after she had left as a result of the most recent board election. So welcome, Sean.
Yeah, welcome.
Item 4, recognition, seal of biliteracy.
I'm going to turn you over to Jean Charlotte.
All right. So before I actually recognize the students that achieved the seal of biliteracy and actually the seal of triliteracy, I want to just acknowledge Shelley Marsh. Shelley, if you can stand up. I'm going to make you, you got to stand up. So Shelley Marsh is a Spanish teacher here, and Jess Cuello is our French teacher. And truthfully, this could not happen, and the students sitting here before us know this, without Mrs. Marsh and Mrs. Cuello. They both have dedicated a tremendous amount of time in advising and guiding our students for the past several years, but also this year in a very unique situation with COVID. So honestly, I applaud them, and I thank both of them very much, because they were a great partner to me and a great advocate for your children. So before I actually read off the names, I just want to give a sense of just the seal of biliteracy and what students have to do to achieve it. I will tell you that all the students sitting here know this, one does not enter into pursuing the seal of biliteracy lightly. It is a very rigorous commitment. And in fact, and Shelley could probably attest to this, we have students that start the process and realize there's no way, and they drop out. So I just want to acknowledge the fact that this is a huge commitment and a tremendous amount of time and effort on the students' part, above and beyond the coursework. So it really just shows a commitment to the languages that they're taking, and I applaud you. In addition to meeting rigorous criteria in both English and the target language, students ultimately present a culminating project in the target language. And I know many of you parents here were probably in the background on the Zoom and listening in. The presentations this year were outstanding. And it just shows the amount of time and the commitment that our students spent in making sure that they had a successful culminating project. So I want to just acknowledge our students who achieved the seal of biliteracy in French. Jaden Kaposi, who's here, you can stand up. Connor Novak, you can stand up. Bronte Stahl and George West. Both Bronte and George could not be here tonight. So I just want to applaud you. And then our seal of biliteracy in Spanish, Kendra Connor, Edward Flynn. Edward, if you can stand up. Alyssa Hopper, Sophia Shaw. Sophia, if you can stand up. Sophia Spitzer and Ben Watling. Awesome. Congratulations. And so our next is the seal of triliteracy. So not only did these students present and do a research and culminating project in one language, they actually did two languages, so Spanish and French. So that is Emma Murphy, who could not be here, and Connor Reagan. Connor, please stand up. you made it very easy on us this year because you pledged yourself and made it easy on myself and your teachers. You guys did a fabulous job. And this is a little gift that Keep the Boys has donated to you. So enjoy.
So while Jean is passing out those gifts, it has been 16 months since we've welcomed parents, really into our building. I think if you had to come to drop anything off, we're sort of holding you out in the foyer, and it's felt so strange because, I feel like we're a family. So it is so amazing to have our parents here this evening. I don't think it's any secret why your kids are amazing. It's because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, if you will. In addition, our students have really made everything that we've accomplished this year. When you think about the seal of biliteracy or triliteracy, in addition, they've made everything happen here at school. They're the reason that we stayed open. They're the reason that we increased the number of days that we were here and have been successful, all the way through. So I'm a former Spanish teacher, so I get a little excited about this stuff. So I'm thrilled at all that you've accomplished, and it's been an honor to have you be the first group to be back and be recognized in person, live at a board meeting. So thank you so much for being here this evening, and we wish you all the best. Now you're welcome to stay. I can see you all. Like, what are we doing?
This is your opportunity.
Yes, run.
Follow Shelley Marsh. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, item next on the agenda, resident comments. Resident comments this evening.
No comments.
Mr. Sinaccio, no resident comments. Moving on, item 6, business. 6.1, memorandum of agreement. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the attached memorandum of agreement with Margaret Pearl. May I have a motion?
Yes.
Patty,
Second?
Janine, second. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. 6.2, issuance of bonds for buses. Resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the issuance of $382,908.92 serial bonds to pay for the purchase of transportation vehicles approved by voters May 18th, 2021, as per the attached resolution. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Kelly, second Janine. Questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item 7, personnel. Been asked to pull out item 7.7 out of the group of personnel items. We'll pull that out and then come back to that separately. Resolved that the following personnel items be approved: 7.1 through 7.6 and 7.8. I have a motion.
Yes.
Patty. Second,
Second.
Kelly. Questions?
I just wanted to point out that we do have our new administrator here with us this evening, Michael Morgan. So welcome to Michael. And wanted to know he was here.
I figured that would be the only guy here in a tie that wasn't over there.
One of these things, and then we get it.
Exactly.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item 7.7, appointment of Buildings and Grounds Summer Help 2021. I have a motion.
Motion.
Janine, and I think I heard Christine. Second, any comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained?
Aye. Abstain, whatever.
Carried.
Now it makes sense.
Yes.
Item number 8, consent agenda. Resolved that the consent agenda consisting of the following items be approved, 8.1 through 8.5. May I have a motion?
Yes.
Patty, second? Janine? Questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item 9, information items.
So I,
Board meeting calendar, reorganizational meeting date.
there's actually 3 highlighted dates on the copy in front of you. The first is the reorganizational meeting date. So there's 2 options. This is a requirement that it be done within the first 15 days of the month of July. The 6th is one option, and what's the other option? The
12,
The 12th, sorry.
6
I'm
or
not
12.
looking at it. So that's one choice. As I mentioned, the board clerk, Tony, will not be able to make the 12th, but it may be that the 6th is more convenient for the board and it's your meeting. So that's one decision that we need to figure out so that we can put these in front of you for approval at a future meeting. The second is that our February meeting fell, what we were going to do, it fell on Valentine's Day. I just don't know if that's a hot button for any of you that celebrate love. So I felt maybe we ought to discuss it. I didn't have heart-shaped sugar cookies here. We would probably put it the 14th unless anyone is violently opposed to the 14th. And then the last one, our final June meeting date, Juneteenth, because of the way that it falls this year, will be celebrated that Monday when we would normally have our final June board meeting. There won't be students in the building that day. I wasn't sure how you felt about having a board meeting on that day. It's certainly fine to do if you wish to. Otherwise, we could shift it to Tuesday night that week. So if we could come to some conclusion about those 3 dates.
How
that would be
about
helpful.
we work right through them top to bottom?
Yes, sir.
July, can people make July 6th?
I cannot.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Good.
I can do it.
I cannot.
The 12th better?
I can do that.
I can't do it.
I can do it.
Janine?
Trying to be very non-committal.
I can tell.
Yeah, I can do the 12th.
So it's everybody but Mike can do the 12th, and there was. at least
Patty
2 people.
and Sean that can't do the 6th, correct? And they have to be done by the 15th?
I'm assuming anybody who can't do it the 6th, it's probably because you're taking that week.
No,
No?
I've got class till 5.
Oh,
I couldn't
okay.
be back here I couldn't be back here for 6 o'clock.
You couldn't be back. for 6th.
I could be back for 7 o'clock.
So if we change the 6th to 7 PM, it doesn't matter what time it is. It's 7.
I can do the 6th at 7. I can't do the 6th at 6. No, 6.
The 6th, July 6th at 7 PM instead of 6 PM?
Does it make a difference for you at all, Sean?
Yeah, I'll be out of town
Oh, okay.
that week, yeah.
Okay.
Could you come back?
Start showing your commitment. I'm probably gonna be in St. Thomas, I'll fly back.
Yes,
Just
sir.
for a couple hours.
And you can make the 6th.
I can make the 6th, yes.
I'm going to recommend July 6th at 7 PM. We good with that?
Yes.
Sorry, Sean.
It's an exciting meeting too, Sean.
Don't read between the lines.
Very, very short.
No, you're wanted, John.
February, no, what would it normally have been?
We had it on the 14th.
It's me out of date night.
All you lovers out there?
I mean, I'd rather have the 7th.
You would? Okay. Is everybody okay with the 7th at work?
Sure.
Yeah, okay,
Sure.
let's do it then. So February 7th. That's a one meeting month because of February break, and then we meet again March 7th.
And then June, that's not, correct me if I'm wrong, that's not a federal holiday, right?
Not that I'm aware of, it's in New York State.
Oh, yeah.
June 20th?
Sure.
We good with it?
So we'll keep it on the 20th.
Keep it on the 20th?
Okay. Thank you so much for that.
Board workshop. I'm sorry. So I received some information from the New York State School Boards Association a while back. They do workshops for school boards. And one of the workshops that they do, I had a pamphlet on it and can't seem to find it, is the roles and responsibilities of school boards. And I know that we probably should know what our roles and responsibilities are, but I was thinking that it would be, it might be an advantageous workshop to have done for us. We're part of the New York State School Boards Association. It's something that they provide to members. All we would need to do is, I've been in touch with them. They said to just get back in touch with them with some dates that may work for us if it is something that we want to pursue.
So what does it entail? Like, is it just they come here, we go
They,
somewhere?
no, they would, I believe they would come here unless, I would hope, in the past, they would have come here. I don't know if COVID has, if they are doing things in person, that I can find out, but we wouldn't have to go anywhere. It would be, they would come here.
Would it be during a regular scheduled board meeting at the end or something, or we pick a
No,
separate
this would
date?
be, this would probably be a separate, separate day. I wish I had that with me. I can send out more information about it, but they're typically 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah, sometimes you pick an evening and you accompany it with dinner, it's a good time to be together and learn. Sometimes it's done on a weekend if that fits people's schedules better, like a Saturday morning. We have not been doing these things for obvious reasons. And typically, at least once or twice a year, boards will get together for some continuing education. And I think Mike is spot on. This is a great opportunity. I honestly think they'll tailor the workshop. I don't know if you want 6 hours of it.
Could they break it up into 2 different days?
They will tailor it to,
A couple hours.
so
Yeah.
roles and responsibilities is one that they do that's a canned workshop, for lack of a better term. They will tailor it to whatever we want.
So I would say if there's a month, this is what I've done in the past, and if it sounds good to you, maybe I could send out a poll of dates. Pick a month when we're meeting once. And then pick a night that fits everyone's schedule and have like dinner and a workshop. So they come for 2 hours or, whatever time limit we give them. And we have dinner brought in and it's just a, couple hours out of your life to learn a little bit more about your role as a board member. And I could do one of those famous doodle polls or something. It would be easy for us to see points of convergence of availability.
And do you recommend that we do this summer, or?
I think this would be a good one if you think we can fit it in. If not, I would do it.
Early fall, if not summer.
Yeah.
Fall is so tough. Like, I would rather it be during the summer.
I would say summer's easier for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I
So
don't
maybe
know.
target like later July because we don't have 2 meetings in July.
We could try that, or if we couldn't make it happen for the summer, October might be a good option too, because we do only have the one meeting, but we could try for the summer.
A lot of times what I've tried to do in the fall, because so many board members have children, and a lot of those children are involved in things, I've tried to pick like between sports seasons. There's usually like 1 week or a couple weeks when there aren't games, in between fall and winter, and at least people aren't running as much. Not that it's perfect.
I would like to try for the summer
You want to
myself.
try for summer?
Yeah,
I'm okay with the summer.
That's fine. I'm, it's gonna be tough for me, but it's gonna be hard for anybody, so.
We
Don't-
could,
we-
we could start out with putting dates out,
Yeah,
if we can't
I mean,
get there.
Tuesdays and Thursdays are a definite, I can't. Because it's whatever, but that's all I know right now.
Yeah, this is-
Yeah, we'll just
So
throw some-
have
we'll
some
start with some dates.
surveys and
Yeah, we'll put some dates together and go from there.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, if week nights are tough, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to me, you know, if we looked at what day of the weekend is better, like, I mean, I know weekends on summer is tough, but maybe a Sunday evening would, you know, maybe be something where people tend to get back home and ready for the next day, so, I mean, if that, whatever.
Yeah, and that second one, Mike, is the one
oh,
we talked about.
with Scott McLeod.
Mhm.
So the second workshop under here, fall, Dr. Scott McLeod is a speaker. Michelle and I saw him at the Central New York School Boards Association meeting 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
2 years ago. Very dynamic speaker. He's an educator. And might be worth, so while this is about being a board member, this one would be more about maybe what we might perceive Marcellus Central School District to look like going forward in the future.
Right, a good futuring kind of moment. He has a website, if you Google
Yes.
dangerously irrelevant and look for his name.
Did he speak at, Welch Allen? Was it the
Yeah.
Welch Allen?
Yes, I think you were there.
I was there, very impressive.
Yeah, he's very good. He's
That be lined up.
spot on
with the
about
board
you know, are we preparing kids for the future,
I
let
like
alone for
that.
the present,
Yeah.
right? Because you
We're
look
at
at a classroom
crossroads.
today and it doesn't look a whole lot different than a classroom from
Sure.
1956. And yet, society certainly has changed dramatically.
Well, it did look a little different over the past year.
Well,
I was just gonna say this year definitely showed a difference, but that sounds good.
Is that something that maybe if he did some kind of presentation for us, that could be lined up with a board meeting? We do like an hour before with him or an hour after to not carve out a whole other evening?
that would take some real stars aligning, but probably could.
Or it could be a Zoom. Is he gonna meet in person or
He's
Zoom?
in Colorado, so I
Could be
doubt
Zoom.
he's coming.
Yeah,
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
but it could, we could look into that. If people think that would be advantageous.
Maybe the first hurdle is, do these sound interesting?
Mm-hmm.
And then if so, let's start with the more basic one, and see if we can get a date converged upon, and then that'll give us an idea if where we sit with dates. Does that sound like a good plan?
That sounds good.
And then Mike and I could potentially approach Scott and just see what he could even do, and he
Yeah.
could give you more information on that. Great.
Item 10, resident comments.
Check a moment ago. No comments.
Item 11, enter executive session. Resolved that the meeting in public be adjourned and executive session be convened for the purpose of discussion of the superintendent's evaluation. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Kelly,
Second.
Sean? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Time is 7:50.